So our next talk is OpenWISP, a comprehensive introduction. And our speaker for this talk is Mr. Gagan. He's a co-developer at OpenWISP, and he will be presenting the talk. So I'm handing the mic over to him.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today here. So I will be giving an introductory talk to OpenWISP, where I will be sharing all the features and how you can use them to manage networking devices. So carrying on. So as who am I? I'm Gagan, and I work on OpenWISP full time as a core developer, where I wear multiple hats to collaborate with the community in developing this beautiful piece of software. And if you like cats, then after the talk you can talk to me. I love cats. So what is OpenWISP, right? So whenever someone asks me, I just say, hey, OpenWISP is an open source network management software. But what is actually a network management software? So it is a software tool which allow users to actually manage. When I say manage, I say, okay, you have to configure a networking device, okay? And then you can also upgrade the firmware on the device remotely. And then you can also monitor the devices straight from the OpenWISP. And right now we are primarily working on supporting managing OpenWRT devices, which OpenWRT is like an open source firmware for networking devices like routers, switches, etc. So what is the mission of OpenWISP? Why does OpenWISP exist, right? It exists to minimize the efforts and costs required to manage networking devices and to uh, reduce reduce the duplicity of efforts and to automate as much thing as we can, because as we all know, humans are bad at doing the same thing over and over again. So why not just uh, why just not delegate it to the machines? So a little bit about history of OpenWISP. So it started as a project from universities in Italy, where they developed it to manage public Wi-Fi systems. Then it got adopted by municipalities in Italy, where they use it to manage public Wi-Fi system in real life, like which were being used by actual users. Then later on, it was from year 2015, it was rewritten in Python using and developed in Django. So earlier, the OpenWISP one, which was used by the municipality in Italy, was built on Ruby, but now we have rewritten it in Python because it offers more flexibility in the development and to provide more generic configurations. So now we develop OpenWISP 2, and now it is being adopted by many more ISPs around the world and used by organizations to also manage their internal network. So I think most of us have already seen some kind of these devices, right? These are routers and access points. And generally, as like before I joined OpenWISP, my experience with routers was when I had to change the Wi-Fi password, when I had to change the SSID. That's it. But that's not only the tip of the iceberg here, right? There are so many configurations which are available on networking devices. So just giving you an example. Oh, wait, no, I did. Yeah. So yeah, just giving you an example. Here, this is how you set up a Wi-Fi interface. Like you turn on Wi-Fi on an OpenWRT device. This is very simple, straightforward, and you put in an SSID here. You put in an SSID here, and that's it, right? You put in some kind of Wi-Fi security, encryption, etc. But what do you have to do this over and over 300 access points? Like this is not actually doable. So how does like OpenWISP simplify these things for you? So first of all, we have a comprehensive dashboard where we will go all of these points in detail. So just to iterate over it, we have a comprehensive dashboard, and we also provide configuration management, templates, the concept of templates, variables, and groups, which we will dive in deep, and I will also show a demo about it. And then we we also generate configurations which are compatible with different firmware versions and so on. We also support VPN provisioning and many things. So this is a general dashboard of OpenWISP. So as you can see, there is a map on the top which allows users to actually see where the device has been deployed. So let's say if we have Wi-Fi router, Wi-Fi access points all over Hanoi. So we can actually see, okay, which part in the city the particular access point is deployed. And then below it, there is a few donut charts. So the first one shows how many devices are active and unreachable. So as you can see here, we have 140, in the screenshot, we have 143 devices which are online and some of them are unreachable. The next one is the configuration status. So whenever you apply a configuration you change a configuration on OpenWISP, it then applies it on the device. Sometimes the device may fail to apply that configuration, and we get a general overview that if there are many devices which are dealing with that problem. And the last one just shows a distribution about how many devices have been actually mapped on the map, and how many are not. So the last one just shows that. There are a couple more charts here. So the first one just shows the distribution. So these are the distribution of the devices on different parameters. First one is device model. It's very rare that if you have a big fleet of devices, you will always have just one model because there are different requirements for different places. So we just give you an overview about different models, firmware versions, system type, which is like what is the chipset which is being used on the device, and then the active Wi-Fi session and a distribution of different groups. Then also we provide this general overview of with time series graphs. So the first one is Wi-Fi clients. So how many devices? So how many people? How many devices? And when I say devices, I say mobile phones, laptops. How many are connected to the Wi-Fi system of the network? Right. So we can actually get an overall idea that how many people are actually using the network. And then below it we have the general traffic chart. So we can see how much traffic is going throughout the network. And this gives a good idea that how much a system is being used. So before we jumping ahead, I would like to share this thing about OpenWISP. We have this editor here, which allows users to uh, set up configurations in OpenWISP. So this one, so here you can see it shows an example for the same example that we started with, right? It sets up a Wi-Fi interface, which can be used to access internet or everything, right? So this is, we provide two ways. This is the GUI. So you can just, this is a simple drop-down menu and you can fill in details. And then we also provide for, the users who are, for advanced users, we provide advanced mode of configuration generator, which is like in JSON object. So you can define, we have a schema you have to follow it. The user has to follow it. And then using that configuration in JSON format, we can actually generate the configuration for the device. And then we can do vice versa itself. So you can provide the configuration using the editor, and you can get the JSON, or you can provide the JSON, and the editor will automatically read it and show you in the UI format. So let me give you a quick demo of this. So here we have, uh, the same example of editor. So you can see that if I want to add, another interface here, I can just do add interface here, and it will gives me option to actually configure that interface. So not only Wi-Fi, like I have been stressing about on the Wi-Fi part, but just because like the normal users, that's the most common thing which they use with Wi-Fi for configuration of access points. But here we have more options as well. So not just interfaces, we can configure different radios on the device, such as like the 5 gigahertz range or the 2.4 gigahertz range of radio. And we have different things, like you can set firewall itself. You can also configure VPN, and we will jump on that later on in the talk. And yeah, the advanced mode of the configuration generator. So as you can see, here we have different we have of the same configuration which I added. So if I change, let's say something here. So let's remove this interface which I added for the demo right now. So if I remove this, and like let's just remove everything, right? So the configuration editor reads it, and it removes everything. And yeah, so basically it provides two ways to generate this configuration. And it also provides, if I will just refresh it to save time, right? And it also provides a way to actually see the configuration which will be generated on the device. So here, so if you are not familiar with the OpenWrt syntax, I will not bore you with that, but it just says that create this interface, and then it will, this is the configuration for the actual Wi-Fi, and it is not using encryption right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving on to the next part, which is templates. So right now we have been talking about just configuring one device, but if you have to do it over and over again, we have the concept of templates, which reduces the concept of duplicity of efforts and also code. So what is a template? They are reusable configurations. You can apply multiple templates on a device. So let's say we will have an example where so on my device, you can see that there are these are the templates in OpenWISP. So you have two templates applied. One is the SSH keys. So the server's public SSH key will be applied on my device. So the server can easily authenticate, log in using the SSH service. And the second one is the configuration, which I just showed you before. It is that template which has been already applied, right? So I can just add more templates as well, such as I will just add this one, and I can also add the template for WireGuard, etc. And then you must have seen in the example, like I added this VPN configuration for 0-tier and WireGuard, right? So we have an option here. So the type of the template, there are basically two types of templates. One is generic, the other one is VPN client. So the generic templates are used when you have to change anything else, like anything on the device, and you would usually use the VPN client template type when you are applying some configuration specific to a VPN, which is managed by OpenWISP. So if you want to connect it to some external VPN service, you can just use the generic one and put the configuration yourself. But if it is managed by OpenWISP, OpenWISP will automatically generate the template based on the type of VPN server you are used. So yeah, this is the example, and as I have already shared, so we have few different things: the name, the organization, and the type of the template as I shared, and the backend of. So right now, as I already shared, that we support OpenWrt, but in future the project has been developed in a way that in future we can extend it and support other firmwares as well. Yeah, small thing. There are two small things here. First one is enabled by default, and another one is required at the bottom. So enabled, if you flag a template as enabled by default, so any new device which registers on the system, it will automatically have the template enabled. So it reduces the amount of effort that you will need, the amount of effort you will need to put to set up a new device. You can flag some devices, some templates with which are enabled by default, and then it will have the template. Whenever a new device registers, it will have that template. And if you flag a template as required by default, required, then the user won't have an option to remove the template. In the example, we had time for internet to not work. Well, actually, we will just move on with the presentation, and maybe if it starts working, then I will just show you after that. We also have the concept of variables. So let's say you have this template and you have created it for everyone, right? But my access point does not need the specific value. Which one common thing which we have observed in deploying systems is that the MTU has to be configured based on the underlying on the VPN based on the underlying networking technology. Like if you are using LTE network, you have to set a lower value of MTU, and then if you have a good reliable fiber network, you can use a higher MTU. So we have the concept of configuration variables, which allows users to customize only specific parts of the template. So you will have a big configuration which is reusable in general, but a part of it can be customized. Then we have the concept of groups. So as I shared earlier, that a big, like any network will have devices which are of different categories, of different models. They have different drivers, etc. So let's say you can create groups for two type of devices. One is routers and other is access points. So you basically do not want the configuration of routers applied on your access points. So you can create groups for this, and then you can add the specific template to a group, and you just apply a device to a group, and all the configuration which has been applied on the group level will automatically apply on the device as well. And we have it will work just like you have applied if you apply individual templates on the device, but it just reduces efforts. So here I have this group, and as I will just go through this with you. So similar to the device page, you can apply as many templates as you like here. So I will just add this one, right? And you can also provide configuration variables directly at the group level. So you can say some device will need, some family of devices will need some specific value, so you can also provide it here, and it will get applied to all of the devices that are present there. Yeah, so I touched the concept of that we also allow provisioning VPNs earlier. So we currently support three VPNs, managing three VPNs. One is OpenVPN, Zero Tier, and WireGuard. So OpenWISP will, so with WireGuard and Zero Tier, OpenWISP will also manage the server side of uh, of the deployment. So it will, so if for WireGuard it will generate encryption keys, etc. For it will generate the certificate file and private keys for OpenVPN, and for Zero Tier it uses a proprietary hash key for connection. So it will also generate that. Yeah. So this we have been talking about this. We have been talking about what goes on the server side, what goes on the controller side. Now we will talk about what happens on a device and what is actually needed on the networking device. So we have an OpenWrt package called OpenWISP config. This package is installed on the networking device, and it communicates with the OpenWISP server, and then it applies the configuration which is generated by the server. It constantly polls the server to see if there is a configuration change. It can also accept push configurations where the server pushes the configuration that there has been change and you need to apply this. Then it has a very neat function that it tests whether the new configuration works perfectly or not, causes any errors or not. Let's say due to some human error, there is a modification in the template, in the configuration created on OpenWISP, which is not supported by this particular device. So the agent will test the configuration. If it finds any error, if it runs into any error, it will just roll back those configuration change, and then it will report it to OpenWISP that, hey, there was an error applying this configuration, and it would also provide some error log lines which can help to debug the problem which is occurring on this device, right? And then it has some hot plugs, which is like concept of OpenWrt. It is like servers, it is like signals and receivers. So whenever we provide some hot plugs, like what happens when the configurations get reloaded, what happens when the configuration has been successfully applied. So this provides customizability to the system, where users, based on their own needs, can write script which are executed at a particular operation of applying configuration. And then it also collects some basic data from the device, as we saw on the charts, right? We saw that there was information about the firmware, the model, and the system SoC. So this OpenWISP config agent sends that information to the OpenWISP. And then this is not only like, you can not only configure OpenWISP config on the device using the SSH, using terminal, but you can also install the Lucy web app, which is the web GUI of OpenWrt. And then just like you will use any web application, you can configure OpenWISP config agent. But the best part of OpenWISP configuration agent is that you can create a new firmware, you can have everything on there which is required to register the device on the system, which is like the URL of OpenWISP, and there is a secret which is used to register the device on the system. You have a firmware, you create a firmware, you flash it on all the device, and just when you switch on the device and plug it to the internet, it will automatically register the device to OpenWISP, and then it will start behaving the way you want. Now we also provide support for executing shell commands on device. So from the web UI itself, you can execute some commands directly on the device. So you will send the you can use these commands here. So we provided some basic commands which are just like you click on it and it will work, like reboot, change password. Maybe you want to just check whether the router has access to some specific to the internet or some specific web address. You can use ping or traceroute to diagnose the network, which is becomes pretty handy when you are managing different devices. Then you also have the option to execute custom commands. So anything that you could execute on the terminal using SSH, you can execute it here. And during the start of this during the start in the dashboard, we saw a map. So and the map gets generated when the user uh, put the location of the device in OpenWISP. We also provide the support for where for mobile devices. Let's say an access point is deployed on a bus, and the bus moves across the city. So if using a script on the network device on the access point, we can send updated coordinates to OpenWISP, and it will reflect on the map. And we also I think any network management software will be incomplete without support for provisioning and assigning subnets and IPs. So we do provide a way, and we use it to work with zero tier and WireGuard VPN, where we control how many subnets and how many IPs each device would get. But it can be used, like, it is pretty extensible and pretty customizable. You can use it any way you want. Okay, we have been talking about configuring the device. You have changed the configuration on the device on the OpenWISP. But how would we know whether those configuration gets applied or not, and whether a device is online or unreachable, or a device is experiencing some kind of issues, like is it on the load, is it running out of memory, is it running out of storage, etc. So that functionality is also built in OpenWISP. So as I was saying, we can see the status of the device, and then the system metrics like CPU, disk usage, and storage. And it also checks for reachability. It does a ping check, so we would know, okay, the device is reachable by OpenWISP. And it also has its separate OpenWRT package, which is called OpenWISP monitoring, and we will discuss about it later on. So this is the device status page. Here, as you can see, we are seeing the load average on device, and the amount of RAM which is being used by the system, and some other things like storage as well. Apart from this, we also provide a way to see this information on time series graph. So the first one you are seeing is the ping, and the device is OpenWISP is configured to check for the reachability of device at every 5-minute intervals. So, and the chart is being plotted that way only. You can also change this the time span of the chart, so you can see older data as well. Like, okay, in the last 1 month, tell me when was this device experiencing a problem. Below it, you can see the round trip time. So this is actually useful for diagnosing networks. It will just show how much time that ping checks how much time was incurred in the round trip of the ping checks. And the third is the CPU usage. We plotted in time series chart, so we can know the duration of the metric. Now, there are also network devices which supports placing a SIM card in them. and then you can, actually, there are travel routers, travel modems right now, modems and routers. You put in a SIM card in them, and then you will, start using them as a hotspot. So for those kind of devices, you can actually get metrics for the signal quality and and for signal strength. And this is the Wi-Fi session tracking thing. So whenever my mobile phone will connect to the Wi-Fi of any of the managed device, it will create a session with the information it received from that particular mobile phone or laptop or any other thing. So this, as I already shared, this helps to see how much the network is being used by people. Yeah, and this we also provide configurable alerts. So whenever, let's say, you want to know, we just don't want to see that your device is having 100% of CPU usage all the time. We also want to know when it happened, right? So we also send alerts which are customizable by the user. So you can set it, okay, if the device experiences more than 90% CPU usage for 10 minutes straight, then you can only send me alert in then, but only send me an alert at that time. But if it, the CPU usage spiked just for a minute, and then it settles down into the normal range, then the user need not be required to be alerted, because this creates a lot of spam in the inbox, and the user deals with alert fatigue, where they will actually ignore the alerts which were actually important. So as similar to the config agent, which deals with the configuration of the device, we have the monitoring agent of OpenWISP, which is OpenWISP monitoring. It is installed as a separate package on the OpenWrt, and it provides a way to collect the metrics directly on the device. So metrics for CPU usage, RAM usage, memory usage, storage, traffic, etc. It collects that information and uploads it reliably to OpenWISP. So in case, let's say, there was a network outage for some time, the the monitoring agent will still collect the information during that time, and as soon as it gets network connectivity to OpenWISP, it will then also send the old data. We also have active monitoring checks. So these are the checks which are performed on the OpenWISP server. So it will perform ping checks. So the server will check for reachability of the device at the configured amount of time. Then it will also check whether the configuration generated by the controller was successfully applied on the device. If a configuration fails for any reason, it will just alert the user about the particular device. And we also provide tests for using iPerf3. This is useful to know the bandwidth of the link between the OpenWISP server and the device. But you can also customize it to run the iPerf3 check against an external system, external iPerf3 server, which will provide you information, okay, what is the actual bandwidth to the internet of this device. Yeah, so we have covered configuration generation and monitoring. The next thing is firmware upgrades. As we all know, all of us are dealing with tech here, right? And tech evolves, software changes, and the scary thing with this firmwares, and that you stay outdated. You get outdated, and then it will get outdated, and you will expose it to vulnerabilities, etc. So we do provide a way to share firmware upgrades to upgrade the device remotely using OpenWISP. You will just there are few different concepts. There one is build. So you will just upload the firmware image here, and then you will apply the image to the device, and you just click on save, and then OpenWISP will handle the firmware upgrade process. It will push the file on the device, and it will it will upgrade the device, right? Uh, it also OpenWISP also provide a way to check the network topology, right? So here you can see that the links in the green are the devices which are have working links between them, and the red ones are the links are not working. So the network topology provides way to collect topology data, and then you can visualize it, and you can also go back in time to know when was a particular link was not working. So the last thing about in this is the radius part, which is the public Wi-Fi systems, right? So we have integration with free radius for to support working with captive portals. So which allows user to sign in and then access the network, and also for WPA enterprise, where you put your you do not have a particular captive portal, you just put the credential directly on your device when you select this particular type of when you connect to a Wi-Fi interface which support this particular type of encryption. Then it is also possible for users to do a self sign up. So some jurisdictions do not allow do not want to allow people to randomly access the internet, without any identification for security purposes. So they can use SMS to have to know what is the to know what who is accessing the system. And then we also support social login OAuth 2, and it also supports SAML, so you can also integrate single sign on those service. And we also have paid module, which will only allow access to the network uh, after a subscription. So yeah, this we have this separate React app, which generates the Wi-Fi login pages. It acts as the front end for the Wi-Fi service. So this is the registration page. If this organization requires mobile phone numbers, it will use it. If it does not, it will not show that, and then it will verify using SMS. And only after that the user will able to use the service. So these are the screenshots of the Wi-Fi login pages app. It just you can, as discussed before, it also allows to sign in using OAuth 2, OAuth social logins, and then it will show the status whether you are accessing the internet. It will also show how much traffic you have used, and it will also send an email to the user that they have a new Wi-Fi session for their account has started. So this is the SAML login, and this is the paid subscription module, which will only allow access to the system when the user makes a transaction there. I will just connect to my. So basically, the user will just fill in their details, and they will be prompted for to make a payment, and then it will allow them to allow them to access the network. So here in this service, they are using PayPal to do the payment, and after this, they will be greeted with, they will be able to access the internet. Yeah, so as we have been discussing that it provides, OpenWISP provide modularity and extensibility, users can configure it. Users can you customize it to their liking, and then they can use the system as they want. We provide REST APIs. This is an holistic architecture which you can also provide on our website. I think the time is running out and we will not be able to discuss it. And you can deploy it using Ansible role. Yeah, so we generally support OpenWRT here. And you can, everything which OpenWRT supports will be can be managed by OpenWISP. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time. I apologize. We ran a little bit out of time.
We can take one more question if you want.
Hi there. Yes, what of the metrics you guys showed in the dashboard, which ones do you find most useful?
Especially ping, because we want to see how much time the device was reachable by the network, and we also find it useful to know the number of users which are connected to a particular access points. So it can help help the administrator know which are the actual where are the concentration of network usage in a particular place. So yeah, those two, and also the traffic which flows through the network.
Yeah, okay. Question though, so the pinging is from the cloud towards the public IP address, or from the router or the access point inside the network to the cloud? Which direction?
Sorry, I do not understand your question.
You mentioned the pinging, and then of course the graph you showed, of course, the ping up time. Which direction is the ping initiated from? Behind the NAT or towards the public IP?
So we do not use the public IP. We recommend provisioning of management tunnel, the VPN, and we use the VPN tunnel for pinging.
Understand. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Gagan, for a comprehensive introduction upon OpenWISP, and let's have a round of applause for our speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we have 6 minutes for your talk. We have 15 minutes for the talk, right?
15 minutes, yes.
1-5.
1-5, yes,
Yeah.
I know.
All right. So our next speaker is Mr. Naruhiko Ogasawara. He's a senior security engineer in Shift Security Inc. So let's welcome him for his talk. We already have a new, modern, and secure print experience. Welcome with a round of applause.
Thank you everyone attending my session. My English is not so fluent, sorry, please forgive me. Anyway, my presentation is we already have a new modern and secure print experience. I'm Naruhiko Ogasawara, as he described here, and I'm from Shift Security. But this the topic is no relationship about security. This is my hobby. I'm an enthusiast, desktop open source enthusiast from Japan. And so I love to keep up with the printing technology on Linux. And I'm a former member of the Open Printing Japan. Open Printing is, I will mention the Open Printing later. And I love kayaking anyway. So, Open Printing is what kind of the organization? This is an organization to standardize Unix or Linux like this desktop printing. So they say they develop IPP-based printing technology for Linux, Unix users, operating system. So they describe that. Some of you remember this web post posted by Microsoft. A new modern and secure print experience from Windows. So in this page, they describe the IP-based printing in Windows today removes the need of third-party drivers and blah, 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 or something. Anyway, so this means that welcome Windows. So to IP-based driverless printing world, which Linux already has it. We Linux users already have a new modern and secure printing experience for years. At least Ubuntu supports this 19.04. So this is a very old version, and this released the 2019. So very old version. In this talk, I described some traditional, not very traditional, but traditional printing scenario and the modern driverless printing scenario. I don't mention about LP, LPR era. I just speak about the desktop. First of all, how printers are driven. So if you create use some peripherals, you may need a driver. So basically, in the Linux world, basically the driver is a kernel module. But the printer is not so, this kind of thing, not quite different from other peripherals. Because printer always use a well-known interface, such as USB or TCP/IP or something like that. So physical connection is already done. So printer, if we want to print, we create some data, say PDL, to describe the page image or something, and send it with a job description. For example, quantity is 1 copy, and the reverse order page, or color and black and white, or size is A4 or something. This kind of data should be sent to the printer, then printer works. This is a printer driver. Oh. We use CAPS as a core component of the printing system on Linux. So this is a CAPS, and CAPS support two major features. One is provide a user interface to the application. For example, the select page size or paper media type or something. So, and different important function is create data, as I mentioned. Printer understandable data creation is a very important feature of the CAPS. Some of people remember that CAPS is a common Unix printing system, but this is an old name, so we say just CAPS. So, and this is a core component of Linux printing system, and it handles job control and user interface, and also the data filter pipeline to create PDL. As I mentioned before, there is no kernel modules in the CAPS print system. And now developed by Open Printing. Formerly, Apple buy the CAPS and Apple developed the CAPS, but nowadays, Apple CAPS is only this or something. So we forked, Open Printing forks the CAPS, and they maintain this. And the PPD is so another very important file. This is names the PostScript printer description, but not only the printer, PostScript printer. This is a historical reason. Name came from historical reason, and describe the printer capability, color or monochrome, supported media size, supported media type, or finishing feature, duplex or stapling or punching or something. This is a short example of the PPD. For example, this is a media size, and this select one, and default is A4. And we have a A4 size and A4 borderless size. So user interface can see A4 and A4 borderless or something. And we have a language filter. This is the last filter of filter pipeline to generate the printer specific data format. For example, HP has a HP own printing language, and Epson has a Epson's original print language. Brother has a brother also. Rico has also something. So this kind of the language filter is very important part of the printing CAPS printing system. 5 minutes. I need to rush. This was a very painful error because so language PPD and language filter set was a printer driver. So vendor should publish the printer driver. If not, we cannot print from Linux. This was a very painful because the according to the market share. So Linux support is very expensive for the vendors. So some vendors don't want to support the printer driver for the Linux. This was a very painful error. But now we have a driverless printing. So we don't need to install the printer drivers. Instead, connect via USB or Wi-Fi. Just work. If printer support Apple AirPrint or Mopriya or IPP everywhere, this is a very common feature right now. So this is how it works. So if printers turn on, when printers turn on, printer says, "I'm here. I'm a printer." So CAPS understand the new printer is coming, and the CAPS ask the printer to the attribute means capabilities. It's the paper size or media type or something. So CAPS generates PPD file from received printer attribute. Then application uses this PPD, same as a previous error. So application, nothing changes. And after print job sent, there is a raster filter right here. So it can create the standardized raster image to understand the printer. This is a key point. Standardization of the raster image data. This is a key of the driverless printing. So every printer can handle the same raster format. It is easy to expose the driver. So, and another key feature is IPP. IPP stands for the Internet Printing Protocol. This is a printing protocol over HTTP or HTTPS. So you can see the RFC 2911. This is the bidirectional, not only the send the data, but also the collecting the data to ask the attribute or something. This is the little busy slide, but example of the IPP, you get attribute and change to the PPD. And the raster filter is, so printer can say, I can accept application octet stream, image PDF raster, image URF, image JPEG or something. So this kind of the image data format is standardized. Conclusion. Printer drivers are user and module and within CAPS. And the pair of the PPD and the language filter is as a printer driver. But now, a while ago, using printer in Linux requires support from the printer vendor. But now we have driverless printing. So we don't need the without printer drivers support, we can use the printer. Thanks for the driverless printing. So this allows the Linux users to print Apple AirPrint viable printers without vendor's driver. Oh, that's it. Any other thanks? Any other question or comment or something? No. May I ask the small question? So, how many people in here use Linux desktop, Linux as a usual desktop? Raise your hand. Okay. But you don't may have a printer. you have?
The issue is that I have HP printer and it have DRM drivers. So whenever I have to print something, I have to install their drivers. So I enable cups, I enable Wi-Fi printer. But the issue is that I can't print without drivers. Like I import the PPD, but I have to run their script also. They have some DRM in their drivers. So I use printer, but DRM drivers.
Uh-huh. So, he mentions about so our real world. Some of old type printer cannot support the Apple print or something, but so if you want to use a printer, such kind of things, so you have to use a printer driver. That's right. And driverless printing has some issue about that. Yes. So in such case, it's also about we should choose the printer driver. Uh-huh.
And cups found the printer, but it can't print it. It said that PPD have error. It have said manifest has error. So I have to install using Ubuntu some script, the HP script. Then it can see the printer and then it can do all the wireless printing stuff. Printer is very old, P1007 HP DexJet.
Okay.
Maybe LaserJet.
Yeah, we have small tips about to work around such kind of situation, but so it is time to very short time to talk with. So please grab me later.
Thank you for your wonderful talk. So that concludes the talk. Have a round of applause for our speaker.
Thank you. Thank you.
So please welcome our another speaker, Mr. Nguyen Tuan. He's the chairman of Lumi Vietnam. He's a co-founder of a smart Lumi system, and also he plays the role of chief system architect and developer of Lumi products. So let's learn something about how does Lumi's smartphone ecosystem apply open source in the environment.
Okay. Hey everyone, thank you for the time to join this session. I'm Tuan from Lumi Vietnam. Lumi have 12 years. We focus on smart home solution. Lumi also export to each country. Lumi focus on IoT, so Lumi use many wireless protocol like Zigbee, Bluetooth, Mesh, Matter or Thread. Lumi also produce many kind of product like you can see, like some touch switch, sensor, lock, or some lighting. Lumi not only focus on quality. Lumi also focus on the beauty, the authentic of designs. Normally, I think most IoT system like this. There are three components in IoT system. You can see the center is a cloud, IoT device, and mobile app web to connect and control the device. But Lumi have a little different because Lumi use Zigbee or Bluetooth Mesh or Thread. It is not internet. It cannot connect directly to internet. So it use the home controller or we call gateway, and mobile app and Lumi Cloud. So we have some issue with this solution. You can see if Lumi Cloud have any problem or home controller have problem offline, so we cannot control device from internet, from mobile. Now Lumi handle about 700,000 devices. Lumi Cloud handle many logic and receive many message. So it will have with overload or message latency or missing socket. And to handle Lumi Cloud, Lumi also take quite amount expense and manpower to operate. To optimize cost also is the all target. The next issue is a home controller. You can see home controller also we can call is the mini server. It connect and handle own connection from Zigbee or Bluetooth Mesh. It also work like automation. In mostly in solution Lumi provide for customer, they need many rule. We can rule or automation system. When it work like server, so we also thinking, should we need Lumi Cloud or Lumi Cloud should have a lightweight function, not handle too much function like here. Lumi also use home controller, two kind of controller. One is a master and one is slave. Because in the villa we we handle is more than 200 or 300 Zigbee or Bluetooth device. So one controller cannot handle all. So we divide to 1 or 2 or 3 home controller to take care. So it also have problem if master or slave have problem. In our solution, we need our solution need to really stability, and we think how we can make our system is a zero downtime, and to improve user experience, we also need to down the latency. You know, when we control from up to turn on or turn off the IoT device, the best user experience is below 200 millisecond latency. And Lumi also need to global scaling because Lumi also export to many countries. So we need to build the cloud can handle on device on over the world. And Lumi needs to improve security and reduce cost of our system. So Lumi have solution when we apply NXFF open source. The next slide, Mr. Tai take care of this solution. We'll share more about the solution we apply. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Tai and I'm a senior software engineer at Lumi. So after we lay out on our problems, we knew that decentralized the cloud and the home network are the answer. We also know that the P2P technology will also come to help to boost up the performance. So we have the idea, but we doesn't have the tool or the knowledge to do it. Then we found the FF Foundation. Yeah, their team is here with us today. So if you have any question about the foundation, you can feel free to ask. So their domain is networking, media streaming, and decentralized system. They have extensive experience with media server, cloud infrastructure, and more. And their code base are 100% open source, so you can check it out on GitHub. So there are two projects that we highly recommend. The first one is the Asmode SDN, which is software-defined network. So their feature is high availability, being fully distributed with no central controller. The second feature is that multi-zone support, so it will have very high scalability and can be multi-zone across the globe. They also have metric-based adaptive routing with latency and bandwidth, network orchestration and discovery, and have high extendability by using network service. They also have some built-in features like PubSub, key value, and also work cross-platform like Linux and macOS. The second one is Asmode reverse proxy, which is a relay proxy for IoT. They have features like decentralized, allows anyone to contribute and participate in the network. Fast relays, so the server just relay messages, so it's very fast and efficient. It's also written in Rust, which is a modern and efficient programming language known for its performance and memory safety. And there is no account required, which is we use public and private key, so you can just connect and it will work. Okay, so that tool project check on the box for us. So we have the tool now. We do some analyzation. Then we divide into two phases. The first one is we will decentralize the cloud using the Atmos SDN technology. We will create a decentralized network for reducing downtime. And each node will have the simplest logic as possible, just relay message for reducing maintenance and operational costs. We also improve latency between region and to make way for our exporting solution overseas. And we will make this easy to deploy as possible. So it's very easy to scale. We also improve security with BIP32. The second idea is that we will decentralize the home. We will turn each home into a separated network also, where own home controller and IP devices, same purpose. And we will use direct P2P connection for low latency. And each home will handle its own network. So we can move on the logic from the cloud to the home. So this is the design. You can see that the relay cloud now is a cluster of nodes. So the idea is that node can be died, but the system will live. And the home also, you can see the mobile app can directly connect to the home via P2P. So our roadmap will divide into two phases. The first phase is to decentralize the cloud, and the second phase is to decentralize homes. So currently we are in the first phase. We are finalizing the first phase. So here we have the implementation and result. Objective of the first phase is that we will deploy a fully functional and standalone IoT platform. We will reduce the load of the current Lumi cloud, and we migrate most of the future from the current IoT cloud to the newly developed IoT platform. So this is the system overview. You can see that the gray box is the current system, and the green is newly developed IoT platform. We add SC module, the agent, to the home controller. We deploy a cluster of nodes. And we develop the MQTT simulate to handle the load of the current Lumi cloud. So here's the result that we give. The first one is zero downtime. When using the ADFF export SDN, it's finding path from gateway to home controller based on network condition. So if their nodes is unavailable, they will change, they will redirect rerouting to other node. So there will be no downtime here. The second one is latency improvement. We have some benchmark on the current system and the newly IoT platform system. And the result is that the new system has 7.3 times faster than the current system. We also have some calculation on cost reduction. So the current system handle about 20K connection at the moment with a press per second of 500. So we have a benchmark of one node using one core CPU and 1 gig RAM. can handle up to 3,000 connections and 3,000 requests per second. So that with the new system, we only need 5 nodes to meet the current requirement. And that cost can be reduced up to 80%. Here is the global scaling network optimization. You can see that the latency between nodes can reduce up to 42%. With the new system, we also achieve improvement in security by using BIP32 and increase performance and reliability of the source code using Rust with SAN.io. And in the future, we will finalizing our first phase of the new IoT platform, and we will done the second phase also. So the edX open source has a great potential and benefit, not only to the media application, but also smart home solution and many more fields. In the future, Lumi will cooperate, contribute, and help FF Foundation with their open source and reach its full potential. We would like to also contribute to smart home community by offer free platform for home assistant. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, the room looks full. So please welcome to our next speakers, Mr. Tuan. He's a sales representative in Vietnam Open Source Development Joint Stock Company. And our next speaker, Mr. Nguyen. He's the CEO of Venades. So yeah, let's learn something about open source software and open data opportunities for innovative startups in Vietnam.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Let's present. I'm present with Vietnamese. Bài tiếp theo tôi sẽ trình bày bằng tiếng Việt để cho chúng ta đỡ áp lực, đúng không ạ? Xin chàng pháo tay ạ. Vâng, dụ dỗ mãi hứa hẹn trình bày bằng tiếng Việt mới dụ được đông các bạn vào đây. Ok, từ sáng giờ chúng ta đã nghe quá nhiều bài bằng tiếng Anh rồi. Hôm nay tôi sẽ phá lệ của ban tổ chức là sẽ trình bày bằng tiếng Việt và slide bằng tiếng Anh. Ok. Rồi, thế thì bài trình bày ngày hôm nay tôi sẽ giới thiệu qua một chút nhỉ. Tôi là Nguyễn Thế Hùng, hiện giờ là tổng giám đốc của công ty cổ phần phát triển nguồn mở Việt Nam Venades, là chủ tịch hội đồng quản trị của công ty cổ phần hệ sinh thái đấu thầu và là tổng thư ký kiêm phó chủ tịch của câu lạc bộ phần mềm tự do nguồn mở Việt Nam, đơn vị đồng tổ chức cái sự kiện ngày hôm nay. Nhưng mà tôi bây giờ đứng đây dưới vai trò là diễn giả, và đồng hành cùng với tôi thì có anh Tuan, phụ trách mảng thị trường quốc tế của dự án hệ sinh thái đấu thầu. Thì ngày hôm nay chúng tôi sẽ mang đến cho các bạn một cái chủ đề giới thiệu về cái vai trò của cái phần mềm nguồn mở và dữ liệu mở, cái cơ hội cho các startup đổi mới sáng tạo và cũng là cơ hội để cho các bạn khởi nghiệp với phần mềm nguồn mở và dữ liệu mở, với cái bài học điển hình mà chúng tôi mang đến từ cái startup do chúng tôi đầu tư trong thời gian gần đây, có tên là startup hệ sinh thái đấu thầu. Ok, thế thì đầu tiên là ở đây các bạn cho tôi hỏi, ở đây trong số các bạn ai biết phần mềm nguồn mở hoặc hiểu phần mềm nguồn mở là gì rồi giơ tay ạ? Ít thế ạ? Chúng ta đến từ sinh viên trường nào ạ? Ít quá, có vài người thôi ạ. Mình giơ tay cao lên ạ, mạnh dạn lên. Ở đây có ai thu thuế đâu đúng không ạ? Cứ giơ tay, mình biết mình giơ tay lên. Ai biết về phần mềm nguồn mở rồi ạ? 5 bạn, ok, ít quá. Ít bạn biết về phần mềm nguồn mở quá, thì chắc phải giới thiệu qua tí nhỉ? Phần mềm nguồn mở là gì? Thì phần mềm nguồn mở đơn giản thôi, là nó là phần mềm, nhưng mà giấy phép của nó thì thay vì nó sử dụng một cái giấy phép thông thường như các công ty thương mại, thì phần mềm nguồn mở nó sẽ cho chúng ta một cái giấy phép gọi là giấy phép mở, là cái giấy phép mà trong đó cấp cho chúng ta nhiều quyền hơn. Nếu như phần mềm truyền thống, các bạn sử dụng phần mềm, người ta sẽ ngăn cấm các bạn phải thế nọ phải thế kia, không được sao chép mã nguồn, không được chia sẻ ra ngoài, đủ các điều kiện. Thì phần mềm nguồn mở hầu hết nó đảm bảo cho chúng ta những cái quyền như thế. Các bạn được quyền chỉnh sửa mã nguồn, các bạn được quyền phân phối lại, cung cấp cho người dùng khác, vân vân và vân vân, tùy theo cái giấy phép phần mềm nguồn mở mà nó cung cấp cho các bạn. Thế thì cơ bản phần mềm nguồn mở nó chỉ có khác mỗi cái giấy phép thôi, còn đâu về các cái khác thì nó cũng không khác gì phần mềm khác. Mình hiểu đơn giản như thế cho nó dễ. Ok, thế thì trên thế giới ấy, các cái công ty hàng đầu trên thế giới họ sử dụng, sáng tạo và dẫn dắt các dự án phần mềm nguồn mở như nào. Chúng ta sẽ lướt qua một cái để chúng ta biết được tại sao cái phần mềm nguồn mở nó có ảnh hưởng lớn như thế trên thế giới, và tại sao có một cái diễn đàn lớn như thế này. Chúng tôi kéo đến hơn 100 diễn giả quốc tế thao thao bất tuyệt trong suốt 3 ngày nói về cái chủ đề này. Đây là Microsoft, đúng không ạ? Họ tham gia vào Linux Foundation, trở thành thành viên kim cương. Microsoft thì các bạn biết rồi, ngày xưa thì họ tuyệt đối là không ưa phần mềm nguồn mở. Nhưng thời gian gần đây thì đây là một trong những đơn vị tài trợ rất lớn cho các dự án phần mềm nguồn mở, và họ thay đổi hoàn toàn cái quan điểm của họ đối với phần mềm nguồn mở. Bởi vì những giá trị mà phần mềm nguồn mở mang lại cho người dùng và mang lại cho chính những doanh nghiệp như Microsoft. Họ thành lập công ty Microsoft Open Technology, rồi họ mua GitHub và đầu tư cho nó, vẫn giữ cho nó là cái nền tảng cung cấp lời lưu trữ cho các dự án phần mềm nguồn mở và duy trì cái phát triển của nó cho đến ngày nay. Ok, thế còn Google thì các bạn biết rồi. Google là một trong những doanh nghiệp hàng đầu cho hỗ trợ và đầu tư cho các dự án phần mềm nguồn mở. Họ đã xuất bản hơn 2.600 cái dự án dưới dạng phần mềm nguồn mở. Facebook thì sao? Thời điểm chúng tôi thống kê họ có hơn 131 cái kho dự án với hơn 110 nhân viên đóng góp cho cái dự án phần mềm của họ, phần mềm nguồn mở, do họ duy trì ở trên github.com. Rồi, thế còn các cái chính phủ ở trên thế giới này thì như thế nào? Mình cũng điểm qua một cái để thấy cái ảnh hưởng phần mềm nguồn mở đối với khối chính phủ nó cũng to lớn như thế nào. Thì đây là dự án Join Up của Liên minh châu Âu. Ở trên cái dự án này chúng tôi đã thống kê được, họ đã launching cái dự án này từ 2016 và cho tới thời điểm gần đây thì chúng tôi đã thống kê được cái số liệu với hơn 7.000 cái dự án khác nhau ở trên hệ thống cùng rất nhiều các cái loại tài liệu khác nhau. Ok, thế thì đấy là phần mềm nguồn mở. Thế thì cái phần thứ hai mà tôi muốn giới thiệu với các bạn là Open Data. Ở đây ai đã được nghe về Open Data rồi ạ? Ai biết Open Data là gì giơ tay ạ? Bạn nào biết? Bạn nào biết ạ? Ở đây chúng ta có sinh viên của những trường nào các em nhỉ? Học viện Bưu chính Viễn thông. Ai là sinh viên của Học viện Bưu chính Viễn thông giơ tay? Ok. Cảm ơn các em. Đại học Bách Khoa có mặt ở đây không? Giơ tay. Đại học Công nghiệp, Đại học Bách Khoa đâu? Giơ tay ạ. Rất cao lên ạ. Mình khẳng định chủ quyền của mình nào. Ok, có 5 bạn, 4 bạn. Rồi, ok, cảm ơn các em. Ai nữa? Đại học Công nghiệp có đây không ạ? Ok, đôi 4, 3 bạn, 4 bạn. Rồi. Đại học Hà Nội là có khoa công nghệ thông tin à? À có à? Ok, ít nhất có. Rồi, ai ở Hà Nội giơ tay? Rồi, có 2 bạn. Rồi, ok, cảm ơn các em. Còn ai của trường khác ạ? Còn trường nào khác không ạ? Rồi, ok. Rồi, bây giờ quay trở lại câu hỏi. Các bạn học công nghệ thông tin đúng không? Hầu hết các bạn ở đây, mà hình như 100% ở đây đều học công nghệ thông tin thì phải. Ai biết, ai được học về, ai được giới thiệu về Open Data rồi giơ tay ạ? Chưa ai giới thiệu với các bạn về Open Data à? Ok, về ở đây có một số thầy, tôi đề nghị các thầy phải tác động lại về hệ thống giáo dục. Đúng không ạ? Chúng ta muốn đổi mới sáng tạo mà chúng ta học mà không biết về cái món này thì khó. Ok. Open Data hay còn gọi là dữ liệu mở là cái dữ liệu mà được cung cấp theo tương tự như triết lý phần mềm nguồn mở ấy, thì cái dữ liệu này cũng được cung cấp với cái giấy phép. Nó cho phép chúng ta sử dụng, chia sẻ, phân phối lại, sở hữu với quyền hợp pháp đối với dữ liệu đấy. Và cái dữ liệu có thể là bao gồm văn bản, tài liệu, sách báo, hình ảnh, âm thanh, vân vân. Thế thì dữ liệu mở ở trong chính phủ ấy nó sẽ phân ra như thế này. Cái vòng tròn to nhất này là cái Open Data. Cái vòng tròn bên này là cái dữ liệu của chính phủ. Cái vòng tròn nhỏ hơn mấy bên này là dữ liệu công khai của chính phủ. Cái vòng tròn nhỏ này là dữ liệu liên kết. Nó giao thoa cái khối dữ liệu liên kết này với cái vòng tròn to là dữ liệu chính phủ. Thì nó là dữ liệu liên kết của chính phủ. Còn cái vòng tròn mấy bên này Nó vừa là dữ liệu liên kết, vừa nằm trong vòng tròn dữ liệu mở thì nó gọi là dữ liệu liên kết mở. Thì cái khối dữ liệu chính phủ mở, dữ liệu mở của chính phủ ấy, nó là giao thoa giữa hai vòng tròn to này. Thì cái loại dữ liệu này ấy là một cái loại dữ liệu mà có đóng góp cái giá trị rất là lớn cho các doanh nghiệp và được đánh giá rất là cao. Ok. Thế thì chính phủ Mỹ ấy, họ nhận thấy được cái điều này và họ thấy rằng cái tác động của cái dữ liệu mở đối với khối doanh nghiệp rất là lớn. Nó là một trong những cái động lực cho đổi mới sáng tạo. Cho nên là cái dữ liệu này ấy là đã được public rất là nhiều. Ở đây là cái chỗ là cái ở trên cổng data.gov là cái cổng dữ liệu mở của Mỹ. Còn vâng, đây là một cái của bên chỗ Cục Khảo sát Địa chất Mỹ. Họ có cái public rất là lớn. Ở trong năm 2015 thì dữ liệu vệ tinh Landsat do Cục Khảo sát Địa chất Mỹ cung cấp đã được cung cấp mở. Và cái dự án này của họ đã thu về 1,8 tỷ đô. Ok. Còn thị trường Tây Ban Nha thì có 150 cái công ty cung cấp các cái dịch vụ dựa trên cái dữ liệu mở với quy mô khoảng 4.000 nhân công. Ok, chính phủ Hàn Quốc thì sao ạ? Chính phủ Hàn Quốc họ cũng đã xây dựng cái hệ thống dữ liệu và cung cấp cái dữ liệu mở của chính phủ gọi là Open Government Data. Rồi, hệ thống mua sắm công Hàn Quốc thì nó cho phép bất kỳ ai kết nối API để mà khai thác cái dữ liệu. Và dữ liệu này được cấp phép theo giấy phép chính phủ mở do chính phủ Hàn Quốc ban hành, viết tắt là CHAOSScon. Ok, thế thì trong một cái thống kê của Liên minh châu Âu, tổng giá trị thị trường dữ liệu mở nó rơi vào khoảng tầm hơn 1.000 tỷ hơn 1.000 tỷ euro ạ. Đây là cái thống kê được thống kê số liệu này cũng không còn mới lắm, nó thống kê vào khoảng năm 2000 thì phải. Thế thì cái dữ liệu mở nó có giá trị như thế nào? Thì giáo sư Hồ Tú Bảo có một cái thống kê, có một cái nghiên cứu và kết luận rằng là cái dữ liệu mở chính là cái động lực để các doanh nghiệp SME cũng như là các startup tham gia vào nền kinh tế số của Việt Nam. Tại sao lại có cái kết luận này? Bởi vì là với dữ liệu mở và phần mềm nguồn mở, các bạn có cơ hội được thừa hưởng công nghệ, thừa hưởng dữ liệu hoàn toàn miễn phí. Và với cái nguồn lực hạn chế của các doanh nghiệp vừa và nhỏ, các cái startup, các bạn sẽ tận dụng được cái cơ hội rất là lớn để mà bứt phá, tăng tốc và tiết kiệm thời gian cũng như là chi phí rất là nhiều trong cái dự án kinh doanh của mình. Thì đây là cái bài học mà chúng tôi khi mà chúng tôi triển khai cái dự án đấu thầu.info và đấu thầu.net mà chúng tôi đã thực hiện được, thì tôi cũng muốn giới thiệu với tất cả các bạn. Thì cái dự án đây là một cái trường hợp điển hình được thừa hưởng cái thành quả từ cái phần mềm nguồn mở. Mặc dù cái phần dữ liệu của nó chưa đạt đến mức dữ liệu mở, nó mới là dữ liệu công khai của chính phủ thôi. Chính phủ Việt Nam thì chưa cấp phép cái dữ liệu này dưới dạng dữ liệu mở. Tuy nhiên về cơ bản là chúng ta cũng đã đủ điều kiện để sử dụng và khai thác nó rồi. Thì các bạn phần tiếp theo tôi sẽ giới thiệu với các bạn cái cách mà cái dự án này của chúng tôi đã triển khai và gặt hái được những thành quả từ phần mềm nguồn mở và cái dữ liệu công khai này. Thì cái startup mà tôi muốn giới thiệu với các bạn nó có tên là startup hệ sinh thái đấu thầu. Với 3 cái sản phẩm điển hình là phần mềm săn thông tin thầu đấu thầu.info, cái mạng sàn đấu thầu tư nhân đấu thầu.net và phần mềm săn tài sản đấu giá.net. Thì cái vấn đề cái dự án này xuất hiện ấy bởi vì chúng tôi phát hiện ra một cái vấn đề của thị trường. Đấy là cái mảng thị trường B2B, mua sắm B2B, các nền tảng mua sắm B2B ở Việt Nam ấy thì có rất là nhiều. Tuy nhiên là trên thực tế thì nó lại không được sử dụng. Và chưa có dự án nào triển khai thành công cả. Trong khi đó thì cái sàn mua sắm công, tức là cái B2G ấy, Business to Government, là mua sắm thị trường mua sắm chính phủ, thì rất là khó để các doanh nghiệp có thể tham gia vào cái thị trường này. Và chúng tôi phát hiện rằng là giữa hai cái mảng này nó đang xuất hiện một cái khoảng trống mà doanh nghiệp có thể, startup có thể cung cấp dịch vụ vào. Thế thì xét về quy mô thị trường ấy thì trên thế giới người ta thống kê được rằng là giá trị mua sắm B2C nó rơi vào khoảng 4 tỷ đô, B2B rơi vào khoảng 20 tỷ đô. Còn B2G thì ở trên thế giới không có thống kê, chúng tôi chưa có số liệu thống kê. Ở Việt Nam thì có 2 số liệu là B2C là 20 triệu đô và 20 tỷ đô, và B2G là 78 tỷ đô. Còn B2B thì chưa có con số thống kê. Nhưng mà nếu mà theo cái tỷ lệ như ở trên thế giới thì ước tính con số B2B ở Việt Nam nó rơi vào khoảng 100 tỷ đô. Ở trên thế giới tương ứng là 4 triệu tỷ và 20 triệu tỷ ạ. Nghìn tỷ và 20.000 tỷ ạ. Thế thì cái quy mô nó rất là lớn nhưng mà lại chưa có một cái sàn nào mà có thể dominate cái thị trường này cả. Cái nguồn này là từ báo cáo thương mại điện tử Việt Nam năm 2023, con số cập nhật khá là mới. Đây là khoảng trống thị trường mà dự án này phát hiện ra. Thế thì cái platform đấu thầu.info nó làm cái gì? Chúng tôi sử dụng cái phần mềm nguồn mở Việt làm cái nền tảng để triển khai cái phần mềm này. Việt là một cái sản phẩm phần mềm nguồn mở được trao giải nhân tài đất Việt của chính công ty chúng tôi vào năm 2011. Và cái dữ liệu thì chúng tôi dùng cái dữ liệu công khai về đấu thầu ở trên mạng đấu thầu quốc gia. Với hai cái nguồn này thì chúng tôi đã tạo lên cái sản phẩm đấu thầu.info. Thế thì cái mô hình kinh doanh của đấu thầu.info là gì? Khá là đơn giản thôi. Đấu thầu.info nó cung cấp dưới dạng phần mềm software as a service với cái 14 cái gói phần mềm khác nhau. Chủ yếu là khai thác cái dữ liệu về đấu thầu trên mạng đấu thầu quốc gia, cung cấp dưới dạng các gói dịch vụ cho thuê bao hàng năm. Với 14 gói phần mềm này thì chủ yếu là các tính năng của nó phục vụ cho cái việc khai thác dữ liệu. Và một trong những tính năng mà được người dùng, được các doanh nghiệp sử dụng nhiều nhất, đấy là phân tích, tìm kiếm các cái gói thầu phù hợp với ngành nghề của các doanh nghiệp tham gia đấu thầu trên thị trường mua sắm công và gửi về email cho họ. Một tính năng rất đơn giản, tôi nghĩ rằng ở tất cả hội trường, các sinh viên ngành công nghệ thông tin ở đây các bạn ai cũng có thể làm được. Và thực tế cái dự án này của chúng tôi ấy là cái startup ấy được hình thành từ một nhóm sinh viên thực tập, có 2 bạn sinh viên thực tập ở công ty Vinades, sinh viên trường đại học mở ấy, trường gì nhỉ? Tự dưng quên rồi. Nhiều trường thực tập ở Vinades quá. Thì các bạn ấy thực tập trong vòng vài tháng, và cái thời điểm mà chúng tôi giao cho các bạn ấy dự án này là năm 2018. Trong một tháng Tết giao cho các bạn ấy làm thử, và sau khi các bạn làm thử sau Tết thì các bạn báo là sản phẩm dùng thử sản phẩm chạy thử đã thành công thì cho mọi người test, và chúng tôi test thấy sản phẩm tương đối tiềm năng thì bắt đầu là chúng tôi cho triển khai cung cấp ra thị trường, cho phòng sale vào để bắt đầu sale thử. Và khi mà bắt đầu sale mà thị trường phản hồi tốt thì bắt đầu chúng tôi mới bắt đầu là hoàn thiện tiếp sản phẩm. Thì ban đầu nó chạy thử nó rất là đơn giản, thậm chí không có giao diện người dùng gì cả. Đúng không? Muốn cấu hình chạy thử là phải gửi địa chỉ mail mà muốn nhận cái thông tin thầu ấy cho các bạn lập trình để các bạn ấy ép vào trong cơ sở dữ liệu. Chưa có giao diện điều khiển, chưa có cái gì cả, rất đơn giản. Các bạn code trong một tháng. Một bạn sinh viên năm cuối của hình như trường đại học mở, các bạn ấy code trong vòng 1 tháng. Đây là một cái dự án mà giao cho các bạn đấy. Và sau đó thì các bạn ấy tiếp tục, các bạn phát triển cái dự án đấy. Các bạn làm việc tại công ty Vinades luôn, phát triển dự án đấy. Thì điều đấy để thấy các bạn thấy rằng là một cái dự án startup, cái dự án này của chúng tôi năm 2010 là năm 2022, cuối 2022 chúng tôi tham gia Shark Tank là được định giá 60 tỷ đồng. Với cái mô hình kinh doanh, trở lại cái mô hình kinh doanh của nó thì cái dữ liệu, các cái dịch vụ khai thác dữ liệu khác, nó còn có cái phân tích dữ liệu, rồi là nghiên cứu về thị trường, sử dụng cái dữ liệu để phân tích dữ liệu và nghiên cứu thị trường. Bởi vì các bạn biết là dữ liệu ở trên hệ thống mạng đấu thầu quốc gia ấy, nó còn có dữ liệu về 2 triệu sản phẩm, giá của 2 triệu sản phẩm trong vòng 10 năm qua. Sử dụng cái đấy để phân tích được hầu hết các loại dữ liệu mà chính phủ mua sắm, rất nhiều cái hay. Ok, đây là một số tính năng chính của cái đấu thầu.info. Thôi tôi lách qua slide này, các bạn có thể vào trang đấu thầu.info xem giới thiệu bằng tiếng Việt cho nó dễ nhỉ. Ok, đây là kết quả kinh doanh, một cái slide được update từ mùng 5 tháng 4, cách đây mấy hôm, năm 2024 đúng không ạ? Cái dự án này đã thu thập được, đã được đăng ký bởi hơn 187.000 người dùng, với hơn 66.000 doanh nghiệp và hơn 2.000 tài khoản VIP. Tài khoản VIP này đang phải trả cho cái phần mềm này trung bình từ chục triệu cho đến 105 triệu một năm. Ok, thì đây là cái mô hình hoạt động của nó, cấu trúc của nó. Bỏ qua. Đây là cái quy trình đấu thầu tư nhân của cái sàn đấu thầu tư nhân đấu thầu.net. Ok, một số cái thông tin về dự án đấu thầu.net. Rồi. Thế thì cái dự án này ấy, cái slide này tôi muốn giới thiệu với các bạn nước ngoài, nhưng mà hình như hôm nay ở đây như không có người nghe nào người nước ngoài thì phải. Thực ra thì cái mô hình này hoàn toàn có thể đem áp cho các quốc gia khác. Tại vì bất kỳ quốc gia nào cũng có hệ thống đấu thầu, cũng có thị trường mua sắm công và cũng có doanh nghiệp ở đấy. Và để mà triển khai và thúc đẩy cái phần mềm nguồn mở và dữ liệu mở ấy, thì mỗi một quốc gia sẽ phải lo thúc đẩy cái chính sách ở quốc gia mình. Và đây là một số khuyến nghị để mà thúc đẩy một số cái đề xuất cho khối chính phủ để mà thúc đẩy cái thị trường cái khởi nghiệp thông minh sử dụng cái dữ liệu mở và phần mềm nguồn mở. Ok, thế thì cái này chắc không có cơ quan chính phủ nào ở đây, nhưng mà tôi cũng rất hy vọng là sau này các bạn sinh viên, chính các bạn là những người mà sẽ tác động và thay đổi về cái chính sách phần mềm nguồn mở, ít nhất là cho Việt Nam. Thì để thúc đẩy triển khai cái thị trường phần mềm nguồn mở ấy, thì phải làm sao để chính phủ thúc đẩy cái thị trường này phát triển lớn mạnh lên. Thì có hai cái mà để nó phát triển được. Một là phải thúc đẩy về giấy phép. Nếu chừng nào thị trường chưa quan tâm đến giấy phép thì chừng đó phần mềm nguồn mở chưa thể phát triển được. Một khi người ta không quan tâm giấy phép là gì, người ta sẵn sàng vi phạm bản quyền, thì làm gì có cơ hội cho phần mềm nguồn mở, hay làm gì có cơ hội để phân biệt nguồn mở với nguồn đóng nữa, đúng không ạ? Người ta cứ sử dụng tràn lan vi phạm giấy phép thôi. Thì giấy phép là một trong những điều kiện tiên quyết để giúp cho phần mềm nguồn mở phát triển. Cái thứ hai là các cái kho mã nguồn làm sao để kiểm soát được các dự án. Các kho mã nguồn này của các dự án chính phủ muốn thúc đẩy phải đưa lên công khai, tương tự như dự án Joy App của Liên minh châu Âu. Và đồng thời các dự án này phải đưa ra các quy chuẩn và tiêu chuẩn để đảm bảo các dự án của chính phủ phát triển dưới dạng phần mềm nguồn mở. Thì đây là hai cái kiến nghị. Thực ra FOSSASIA cũng đã kiến nghị với chính phủ nhiều rồi, nhưng mà chính phủ chưa chấp nhận. Hy vọng là đến thế hệ trẻ các bạn sẽ làm được việc này. Ok. Để thúc đẩy dữ liệu mở thì làm sao? Cũng có hai mục thôi. Một là ban hành danh mục dữ liệu mở. Và cái thứ hai là làm sao để yêu cầu các đơn vị quản lý của khối chính phủ có nhiệm vụ quản lý các kho dữ liệu này phải cung cấp dữ liệu này dưới dạng dữ liệu mở. Có như vậy chúng ta mới có dữ liệu để chúng ta sử dụng và khởi nghiệp, đúng không ạ? Ok, thì đấy là một số cái khuyến nghị dành cho khối chính phủ. Rồi. Ok. Thì ví dụ như là hiện giờ chúng tôi đang tác động đến khối chính phủ bằng cách thông qua FOSSASIA vận động các cơ quan nhà nước, vận động khối chính phủ, các sự kiện, hội thảo để mà thúc đẩy cái chính sách từ khối chính phủ. Thì đây là một cái gợi ý cho các quốc gia khác. Nếu tất cả các quốc gia mà có hệ thống mua sắm công hoàn toàn có thể triển khai một cái dự án như dự án hệ sinh thái đấu thầu các sản phẩm như đấu thầu.info. Mà rất tiếc ở đây hình như là các đại diện các quốc gia khác đi đâu hết rồi ấy. Ok. Rồi, thì cái phần trình bày của tôi là một cái phần trình bày gợi ý cho các bạn cái cách thức để chúng ta sử dụng phần mềm nguồn mở và dữ liệu mở để start up. Và các bạn có thể start up với rất nhiều cái hình thức khác nhau. Gần đây nhất thì chúng tôi biết có một cái dự án cũng do một cái doanh nghiệp khá lớn là Mainland có triển khai một cái ứng dụng tương tự như cái đấu thầu.info của chúng tôi, là cái ứng dụng Maymap. Địa chỉ là tên của nó là MEEI, map là bản đồ ấy. Maymap các bạn search trên Google sẽ thấy nó. Mô hình y hệt. Họ cũng sử dụng một cái giải pháp thu thập dữ liệu từ các hệ thống quy hoạch và đưa lên làm dịch vụ tra cứu online. Ok, tôi xin phép hết giờ. Và cũng kết thúc bài trình bày của mình ở đây ạ.
Okay, everyone, we have a tea break and our next talk will start at 3:45 p.m.
Okay, so hi, I'm Roger. This is a follow-up session from yesterday. How many people here saw the talk yesterday in the upstairs room? I see a couple of hands. Okay, so I'm here to answer whatever you want to ask me about the Tor project, the open source world, internet freedom, privacy, censorship. So whatever, if you're in the back and you can't hear me very well, you should come to the front and then this can be a community discussion. So with that, we've got, I think, 2 microphones. I see another one here. So raise your hand if you have a question and we will begin.
Yes. So my question is right now, like I'm not very comfortable in C, but let's say I'm very comfortable in Rust, Java, or JavaScript, and I would like to know, like, how would I start contributing to Tor? Do I need to be like a C expert to do that, or is it possible to get started right away, like with code contributions?
Yes, so the Tor software ecosystem has a bunch of different programs. The program called Tor is written in C, but there are people rewriting Tor in Rust right now. It's called ARTI, A-R-T-I. So if you're excited about Rust, you should participate in the ARTI development. If you're excited about JavaScript, there are all sorts of privacy issues in Tor browser because it's based on Firefox. So fixing the browser level privacy things would also be really great. So pick whichever of those you think sounds more fun and jump in.
Thank you.
Surely there, oh, you've got.
Okay, thank you. Eventually, I have 2 questions for you. The first question is, I understand that there are several governments have been trying to decrypt Tor traffic. And to my understanding, they have been unsuccessful so far, but are you prepared for that thing? And do you think that the new technologies like quantum computing or whatever could help them? And how do you protect yourself from their attempt? That's the first one.
Let me answer that, and then you can do the second one. So yes, in the Snowden documents, when Ed Snowden brought out a bunch of NSA documents, he found everything he could find about Tor and made sure to bring that out to give it to us. So there are several documents from analysts at the NSA who tried to do traffic correlation and tried to break Tor, and they failed. And that doesn't mean that everybody has failed. Who knows? Maybe there's somebody else who did it and didn't have their document leaked. But at least that analyst document wasn't as good as the academic privacy literature. If they had read the research papers that professors are publishing about Tor, they would have had a better attack than they did. So that's an example where the US intelligence agency is not as far along as the public research literature was. So who knows, maybe that was just one person. So yes, are we ready for that? We're never going to be completely ready for that. We're participating in the academic research world of how to provide better padding and add more latency and overhead in order to protect more against traffic analysis. So that's a start. Another answer is most of the ways that Tor fails is OPSEC failure, operational security failure. So it isn't that they break Tor, it's that you use Tor, Tor does what it's supposed to do, but you accidentally wrote your name on your email and now you messed up and they know who it is. So most of the time Tor fails, it's not because of the protocol problem, it's because of it's humans trying to use it.
Continuing to that question, one of the methods that I read that people try to decrypt it by adding their own nodes into your Tor networks, and they use their nodes at the try to get the traffic into them before and after transferring to other legal Tor nodes. And
Yes.
how do you detect, for example, how do you detect or remove those nodes from the network?
Yes, so the Tor network is made up of 8,000 or so public volunteer relays all around the world. And because they're public and volunteer, yes, you can run one, please run one. And that means that sometimes bad people sign up a relay. So one answer is, I know many of the people who run the relays because it's a community of relays around the world. So a lot of them are run by nonprofits. There's a nonprofit in Sweden that is it was created in order to run exit relays in Sweden. And there's one in the Netherlands, there are 3 in Germany, there's 1 in France, there are 2 in the US, there's 1 in Canada. So these are organizations that that run Tor relays as nonprofits, and they're part of our community. So we know a lot of the people who run the relays. So it's not the case that most of the Tor network is run by bad guys, but maybe a little bit of it is. So one answer there is, when you're building your path through the Tor network, you use 3 relays, and if one of them is bad, it's okay. They're still not going to be able to learn that it's you going to this destination. Another answer, in terms of how do you detect them, for a while we had people adding bad relays from Russia trying to attack user traffic, and they were actually modifying traffic. They were doing SSL strip attacks on Bitcoin exchange websites. And the goal is that you would use Tor to get to a Bitcoin exchange, but it wouldn't really be the website, it would be a Russian mob website, and they would steal your Bitcoin. And the short term, the fix for that was we would do probes out of every exit relay to try to see if you do SSL strip attacks, and we can detect it. Long term, the answer was HTTPS by default. Long term, the answer was always use real encryption so that you go to the real version of the website. And that solved that particular problem. But yes, the general question continues to be a problem. And the design question is, do you use a distributed network that's actually distributed trust, meaning it's run by a lot of different people? Or do you use a centralized network like a VPN where somebody breaks in and now they have everything? So I think that the distributed version is the best available option, but it's not perfect. Okay, who more? Raise your hand.
Yeah, maybe just related questions to that. Is that, now we think that the bad guys are those who want to read our data. But what about those like government agencies, they are trying to be part, like the US federal government. If they want to be part of the distributed network, I think they have the power to set up like enough nodes in the Tor network to sort of monitor that stream. So yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah. So the worry here is, what about large intelligence agencies that can run a lot of relays? So one answer is, we know a lot of the people who run the relays, so they're not doing that. They're not running most of the relays. We know that because I've met a lot of people at hacker conferences. I've known them for 10, 15 years. So that's the good news. The bad news is, I don't think the NSA runs any relays because they've already invested in surveilling the internet. They've already invested in watching big pieces of the internet. So they don't have to run relays. They should wait until this nice fellow sets up a relay on a piece of the internet that they're already watching. They don't have to run the relay in order to watch the traffic that goes in and out of it. So I worry a little bit about intelligence agencies running a lot of relays. It's a worry. But I worry even more about intelligence agencies watching enough of the internet that they can start piecing together which user and which traffic flows match up. So yes, both of these questions are exactly the open research questions. How do we build an overlay network where we have a diverse set of locations and a diverse set of participants without letting well-funded governments pretend to be users? You should find a microphone because I think we're being streamed. Oh, we're getting the next microphone going.
All right, so my question is, like in iPhone, when I try to install Tor browser, I can find many applications of Tor listed in the iStore. Am I secure?
Yeah, so we have Tor browser for Android. We have Tor browser for Linux, for Windows, for OS X. We don't have a Tor browser for iOS. And the reason for this is that Tor browser is based on Firefox, and there is no Firefox on iOS. Apple only allows WebKit. They only allow Safari. And every time I say this, there's somebody who says, no, no, no. You see the app? It's called Firefox. What do you mean? It's WebKit with the word Firefox written over it. And Chrome on iOS is WebKit with the word Chrome written over it. It's not Chrome. It's not Firefox. And the big companies like Google have decided to have an app that they call Chrome because their users are confused otherwise. But we want the program called Tor Browser to be the thing that keeps you safe. And if we can't do that because we're not allowed, like the WebKit is closed source, you can't change it. So it's because of Apple's monopoly that we can't keep you safe on iOS. Now that said, there's a program called Onion Browser that does a bunch of good stuff. It's not as good as Tor Browser, but if you're on iOS, you should use Onion Browser. And yeah, there's a challenge there because how do you know it's Onion Browser? You were in this room, I told you, but there are a lot of fake top browser, Tor Advanced. There are a bunch of spyware, malware apps on the iOS App Store. And this is super frustrating because Apple built a reputation for only safe things are on the App Store. I don't know where that reputation came from because we keep sending them lists of malware and they keep leaving. So yeah, I hope Europe solves the App Store monopoly. Ask me more. Surely there are, oh, great.
Can you talk a bit more about like the Tor project? So the Tor project is a non-profit, right?
Yes.
So like managing open source projects can be very complicated, and deciding what is the next thing to do or the direction of the project. And I'm pretty sure for Tor project is even more complicated because you might have like people trying to get into the organization, trying to set different directions and even malicious ways of like trying to get into it, right?
Yep.
So first, like, can you talk a bit more on how the structure of the organization works? How do you guys work on this? And then also, like, if you guys have methods in place to avoid like these malicious actors trying to get in, or
yeah. So in many ways, Tor is like a software development company where we employ people and they write software, and we need to get funding. So some of our funding comes from donations, which is great because it's usable for anything we decide we need to do. But a lot of our funding comes from governments and companies who want Tor to exist or want certain features, like the Brave browser is excited that Tor exists, so they pay us some money every year. But also the US State Department funds us in order to focus on helping people in certain countries around the world. So that knowing where the funding comes from, they don't get to decide what we build, but we have a menu of 20 things we want to build, and we try to do grant proposals, and some of them get funded and some of them don't. So we don't do anything we don't want to do, but they can steer what our short-term priorities are based on what funding we have. So in that sense, we're a software project. We've got project managers and developers, and we use our own GitLab and so on. In terms of the community side of that, we do have more people who are funded to work on Tor, not by the Tor nonprofit, than there are by Tor. So there are something like 50 people paid by Tor, but there are hundreds of people around the world who work for Mozilla or their university or other organizations that are part of the Tor ecosystem. They have a day job being a professor, and they write research papers about how to make Tor safer. So those people are part of the Tor community, and some of them even write Tor code and contribute, and some of them even maintain pieces of the Tor ecosystem. So part of the trust there comes from us knowing them in person and going to meetings and talking to them. But yes, we also get source code patches and contributions from strangers on the internet. And you have to look at those really carefully and build a reputation of understanding who that person is, so that you know how much energy to put into reviewing their code and making sure that it's right. So there's definitely a balance there where, yes, there are risks from pseudonyms on the internet, but also we need, like there was a great person from Belgium years ago who finds vulnerabilities in projects. And I said, hey, can you find a project, can you find bugs in Tor? I really want you to tell me what the bugs are so I can fix them. And he had just been employed by some Saudi Arabia prince or something, and it was an exclusivity thing, so he wasn't allowed to send vulnerabilities to anybody else. And my answer was, I wrote a privacy system. Please send me the vulnerabilities. Please use Tor to, and a week later, some anonymous person showed up with a great vulnerability. I don't know who it was, but the contributions at that level are really important to making sure that it's not just us looking at the code, it's a lot of researchers, academics, industry people around the world who are assessing it all the time. Who else?
So for this assessment, do you have like a core set of developers that you fully trust, so they can actually say, okay, this code is correct, I give an approval, or what is the process there?
Yes. So one of the challenges in Tor is it's actually an umbrella project of a bunch of different separate software things. So there's Tor browser, there's Uni, which is for censorship measurement, there's the metrics project, there are projects working on anti-censorship techniques. So it's a bunch of different isolated software projects, and each of them have maintainers and developers. So yes, for each of them, there are a set of people who get to do the Git commit, to do the Git push. And there are other people who write code, but then it gets reviewed before it goes in. We try to have a policy of at least 2 people look at everything. So the person who wrote it and some other person, especially in the case of external contributions. Oh, microphone's not on, or it died again.
I have a question about the usable of the Tor browser. I has experience of slowing browsing using Tor browser, and I read around in the official site they said that if I'm being a host itself, then it's possibly make it faster, but I'm not sure understand why it could be, and how actually I can do it faster browsing with Tor browser. Thank you.
Yeah, so Tor has been slow throughout its lifetime. It's gotten a lot faster than it used to be. A lot of people think about the speed as I'm bouncing around the world, so of course it's slow. But actually mostly the reason why Tor is slow is because of congestion in the relays. We have 8 million daily users and 8,000 relays. So you're waiting for your Facebook page to load because somebody else's Facebook page is loading. So it's congestion at the relays that's one of the biggest problems. In terms of how to make it faster, one answer is we need more relays, we need more capacity. Another answer is there are a bunch of researchers working on better designs for routing traffic in a smarter way, for detecting bottlenecks and routing around them, things like that. But all of the performance improvements come with anonymity trade-offs that make it more complicated to analyze. And that goes back to the traffic analysis resistance discussions we were talking about. Every layer of performance improvement comes with a possible trade-off of who gets to watch how much traffic and how much can they piece together. So yeah, it's gotten worse than that lately, because over the past year or so, there are marketplace websites in Russia that are trying to sell drugs or whatever, and they attack each other over Tor. And the collateral damage is there's a lot more bandwidth on the Tor network than there should be. So it used to be that you were waiting for somebody else's Facebook page to load before yours would. Now you're waiting for somebody's mini DDoS to finish before your Facebook page can load. And that's frustrating. We've been working on techniques to try to make, I mean, I don't want them on the network, but I really don't want them ruining your experience of using the Tor network. So we've been trying to figure out ways to make them go away, or to at least make the impact on the rest of the network stop.
So basically, if we have more relay, we can reduce the risk of being slow on queuing some web relays, right?
Yeah, so the more relays we have, the more capacity we have, the more users we can handle. So part of it is the bigger the network gets, the safer it gets, and the faster it can be. But also the bigger the network gets, the more users can use it and be happy. So we have maybe 8 million users a day now, but we could have 20 million a day if we had more capacity to handle more users.
Thank you.
I'll grab it.
Thank you so much. I have a big question. First, I hear about when you surfing the Tor browser, I can find something very illegal things. I just wonder how you can, which your team have planned to can improve the privacy and security and the party make something illegal maybe less. A second thing, how to can improve the connection between Tor network. And third is, should we use Tor with VPN? That's all my question. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't understand the first question, but the second one was, how should we be thinking about using Tor and a VPN together? Or
yeah, about two.
Okay, let me answer the second one, and then I'll ask again what the first one was.
Also, can I ask again the question one?
Okay.
I mean, when surfing to on your Tor browser, we can find something very illegal things like a drug or the gun or a virus or this. So how to can to improve the, I mean, the security to make reduce the research or something about that research?
Yeah, so I guess the first question is, there are bad people who use Tor. You can find bad things on Tor. How do we handle that?
Yes, you handle it.
Okay. Yes. So these are both complicated questions. I'll answer the VPN one first, and then I'll get to the bad people one. Tor and VPNs are similar in a lot of ways, and there are situations where you should use a VPN to reach Tor, and the there is, even if Tor is broken somehow, they track you back to your VPN, and if your VPN works, and they don't track you back to you. So that's a reason why it makes sense to do it.
Okay.
But one of the reasons it doesn't make sense is you're adding more surface area. You're adding more places that get to see your traffic.
Okay.
So if your VPN is perfect, great, that makes sense. But by perfect, I mean not only they don't look at your traffic, but also they're in a perfect location on the internet that nobody is looking at. And there aren't any of those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So if you route your traffic through Switzerland first, and you hope Switzerland is perfect, then if the attackers are able to see traffic in Switzerland, you're hurting yourself. You're showing them the traffic when you didn't need to. You could have gone directly to Tor.
Okay.
So there are people who use VPNs with Tor, but I don't use a VPN with Tor. I just use Tor, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I hear someone should not use the VPN with Tor without making more traffic.
If you are an expert,
no,
then,
I just know user.
If you're not an expert, don't combine them. Just use Tor, don't use a VPN, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
But if you are an expert, feel free to do whatever you think is smartest. In terms of the bad people question,
yes, how to handle and solving that. When the normal user when they're surfing the Tor, they can find less and need more technique to can find that things.
More techniques you can find.
I mean, when the surfing, it can easily to get find some illegal thing. So how to improve? I mean, reduce the result when searching using search like DuckDuckGo to search reduce the illegal.
Yeah, so there's a trade-off between usability, where everybody can use the internet and Tor to find everything, and being able to make it hard to find certain content. And some content we all agree is bad, and I wish they would go away. But other content is more complicated. Like, let's say I have a blog about human rights abuses in Saudi Arabia. Some countries think that's illegal, bad content, and they want to get rid of it. Other countries think that's very important content. So how it's for a lot of content, it's unclear whether we want to get rid of it. But the real answer from Tor's perspective is, I don't know how to build a tool that keeps you safe when you're doing certain things and doesn't keep you safe when you're doing other things. I don't know how to do that technically.
Yeah, so does that mean user need to have a knowledge to care and control what they find, right? Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'd like to, I mean, in a sense, this goes back to the encryption backdoor question, where the US government and the UK government keep asking for, I want to provide encryption, but not if you're breaking the law. And if you're breaking the law, you should not have your encryption. And technically, there's no way to build it that way, where I can decrypt it, but only in certain situations. Because once there's a mechanism to decrypt it, Saudi Arabia is going to come to me and say, that user is a criminal, tell me who they are. And I don't want to answer them. And the only technical answer is to not have a system like that at all. The only answer is you have to protect everybody, because otherwise you can't protect anybody.
Okay, so thank you so much. Có ai có câu hỏi không ạ?
We've got one down here. And then I'll...
So how does the relaying logic, is it like smart? Or
how does the what work?
The relay logic, like how does the relay form the connection? Is it smart based on like speed and health, or is it completely random?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we choose our paths?
Yeah.
So the Tor client downloads a list of all the relays. So it knows the locations and keys and exit policies of all of them. And then it, I'm trying to figure out what level to answer at. Each relay has a speed that we've measured and put into the consensus document. So you know how big each relay is. And we choose proportional to their speed for each of the 3 relays. And the goal of that is every circuit should get the same expected end-to-end bandwidth. So that means that relays that are faster show up more often. They get used more often. And that goes back to your traffic analysis question, which is, wait a minute, if the really fast relays are used more, then aren't they the bottlenecks? Aren't they more centralized? Isn't that the place you should go watch more? So yes, there's a trade-off between performance, which we need to do or it will be slow, and privacy, where we need to distribute the trust over everything. So that was part of an answer. Another answer is every relay has an exit policy that describes what IP addresses and ports it's willing to reach. So about 1/3 of the relays are willing to let you web browse through them. And that means that if you're planning to do a web browsing thing, if your Tor client is planning to do web browsing, it needs to choose one of those relays for the 3rd hop. Otherwise, you won't be able to connect to the website. And there are some other attacks that cause us to choose the first relay in a way where we stick with it for a while. So I'd be happy to explain the whole guard node thing in more details, but it's pretty technical. So should I do it? Should I not do it? I see. Okay, I've got at least one yes. So the phrase guard node or entry guard, in the original Tor design, you choose 3 relays and you hope that you're safe enough. Imagine a world where 10% of the relays are bad. Maybe they're all run by the intelligence agency you're worried about. So if you're worried about a traffic correlation attack, where the first relay you pick is bad and they see that it's you, and the last relay that you pick is bad so they know what you're doing, and imagine they're good enough at math to do the correlation, the statistical comparison. So that means if 10% of the relays are bad, and I choose at random, 1% of the time, I've chosen a bad circuit. I've chosen a circuit where the adversary is in a position to be able to break it. 1% doesn't sound so bad. Let's say I build a second circuit. What's the chance that both of them are safe? Now it's 0.99 squared. Now I build 50 circuits. what's the chance that every one of them is safe? The graph looks like this. The chance that every single time I flip heads goes down to 0. So the fix for that is that we choose the first node and we stick with it and we always use it. And that means 10% of the time, sorry, you picked a bad entry node, but the rest of the time, you're definitely safe no matter how many circuits you build. So the design there is, yes, you're safe at the beginning either way, but as you keep using the system, I don't want the probability that you are still safe to drop down to 0. So that's why we change, that's why we fix the first relay and keep using it for all the future circuits.
And just a follow-up question. So you said that when the browser starts up, it downloads a list of the relays.
Say it again?
When the browser starts up, it downloads a list of all the relays. So how often is that updated? Is it like what's the update?
Yes, it's an hourly consensus. And the way that works is there are 8 directory authorities, and they're the ones that so every 18 hours or so, each relay publishes a relay descriptor saying, here's where I am, here are my keys, my exit policies, and so on. All of those go to all of the directory authorities, and then they produce a consensus network status, and they publish a new one, and they all sign it every hour. And that means that the clients fetch a new one every couple of hours. And the reason for that is we want, first of all, you need to know that you're really using the Tor network, because you can imagine bootstrapping on somebody's fake Tor network, and then you're completely hosed. But second, you need to know that you're using the same set of relays, the same view of the network as other clients are. Otherwise, anonymity analysis gets really complicated. Otherwise, if I know that you learned about this relay, and you learned about that relay, and then I see a circuit that uses the one you know about and not the one that you know about, then I can start dividing users. So we need everybody to have the same view of the network in order to be able to keep them all in the same anonymity set. And I see a please end sign being held up. So thank you, everybody. And I will be around for a few minutes to answer more questions off video. And I'm going to the main hall in maybe 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I'm going to the main hall very soon to talk to all the people who are standing there and give them a summary of what Tor is. So thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful discussion we had right now. So thank you, Roger. It was a pleasure having you here. All right, so our next speaker is Mr. Daniel. He's the CEO of Bitergia. So he'll be sharing his thoughts about mini CHAOSScon, navigating the seas of open source software matrix. So
just a second, I'm there. Okay, I think I did it. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry for starting a bit late. I'm supposed to be in the hardware track, but I was moved here. So, hello all, lovers of hardware. This is about software. So yeah, my name is Daniel Izquierdo. I'm part of the governing board of CHAOSS. CHAOSS is project that we are trying to understand what health means from an open source perspective. And health means different things for different people, right? Health might be sustainability, health might be maintainability, health might be about the source code, health might be about vulnerabilities. So there are many ways of measuring what health is. So CHAOSS was founded in 2017, was publicly announced in Open Source Summit in LA in September 2017. And then back then there was a bunch of basically open source communities, foundations, and companies that we all believe that this kind of analysis was needed. So this includes Red Hat, University of Missouri, Universidad de Juan Carlos, where I come from, Vitergia, company I co-founded, and many other companies and foundations out there. A bit of historical background: the two main lines in CHAOSS, one of those came from academia in the US, mostly social sciences, trying to understand what this means, right, about having all of these people working together. And the other line was mainly brought by the Universidad de Juan Carlos and Vitergia, in the sense of understanding the health of the communities and open source from an empirical software engineering. So we were bringing like the flavor of the qualitative analysis and the quantitative analysis. So the mission of CHAOSS, and it's part of what you can see here, is based on two main lines. The first one is we want to establish a set of metrics and discussions to learn and understand what open source is from a health perspective, what is what matters. And we are structuring all of this information in working groups. So you can be part of this discussion at any point. All of these discussions are happening in the open, and you are very welcome to bring your own thoughts. We are discussing here of groups, working groups that are focusing on diversity and inclusion, on the value of having an OSPO in a large corporation, on the value of the open source by itself, on the risk analysis. So there are many areas and working groups where we are defining just metrics. So basically we are literally and theoretically filling templates, basically, from that perspective. We are trying to define what this is. What is the definition of sustainability and all of this. And then there is a second leg, which is about producing, if we can implement basically this knowledge into software, right? So then with this knowledge, what we want to be able is basically how can we translate all these theoretical framework and discussions into something meaningful in software. And this is where the second big part of CHAOSS is. It's basically we are developing tools that are partially supporting part of these discussions, okay? There is a third leg, which is part of the mission of the community that is related to the standardization of all of this. We have started now discussions into becoming or producing our ISO standard in defining what means health or what means sustainability. But that's something that is still, an ongoing discussion. But this we could summarize probably that CHAOSS is this. Okay. Why? Basically, there are many reasons. These are some examples that we can think of. But mainly because health means different things for different people. We don't have a single definition or single point of truth, right? So this is why we need to rely on you, the community, and all the people that have been contributing over the years to CHAOSS since 2017 to make sense of all of this knowledge. We are bringing, we have people from way different places. So this means from, as I mentioned, academics, literally producing papers on this, academic papers. We are bringing people from the industry, small companies as Vitergia, large corporations as Red Hat, and many more. VMware, for instance, has been involved there, Microsoft, and some others. And then we are bringing the community itself in terms of newcomers, volunteers, and so on. So with these three pieces, we can say academia, industry, and volunteers. So this is kind of the community of CHAOSS, and this is the the place that you would be coming if and you are more than welcome to join us if at some point, well, this is of certain interest for you. So as I mentioned, some of the companies here and some of the foundations and people that are participating here. So it would be great to see you there. So we are working in an open community, and the structure is more or less like this. So there is as I mentioned, certain relationship, and there is a continuous feedback loop between software and the metrics definitions. So in reality, you should be those are not two isolated, spaces. There is a certain intersection between both of them. So that means that not all of the metrics are already implemented in software. Not all of the software metrics that are defined in the software side are defined in the metric side. So there is just a, an intersection here. That's it. So, but basically we are trying to structure information into these two main areas. Some of the working groups, as I mentioned, so we have diversity and inclusion. That was indeed one of the very first working groups. I'm indeed one of the original founders in the working group and so on. And back in time, what we did was to basically understand. We were running some analysis on the OpenStack Foundation to understand basically the gender diversity analysis. Because one of the very first questions I remember we had on the table was, okay, I remember the OpenStack Foundation was in Tokyo 2016 or so, or 15. They said, hey, we have this amount of, this percentage, like 15% of percentage of women that came to OpenStack Summit. Then there was an answer to that tweet asking how many of them are actually contributing. Basically, the general answer was, we don't know. So then we wanted to bring that in somehow. So we proposed to the OpenStack Foundation, and that was co-sponsored with Intel, an analysis on these areas. So this was kind of the founding or the seed of the D&I working group. Then there are other working groups that you can go through: evolution, risk. There are some more than here listed. For instance, there is another working group that is focused on the value of open source for academics, basically for universities. In the US, there is now a whole movement being financed by the Sloan Foundation on creating OSPOs, open source program offices, for universities specifically, and there are some of them very relevant. So Johns Hopkins University, Carnegie Mellon, CMU. So there are some more. Chicago, Santa Barbara. So there are several of them, and they are basically checking what is the value of open source for a university. So going to this specific example, I could think here would be to mention that there is, according to a European Union funded project, 50% approximately of the cost, or 60% of the costs, are related to capital, human capital, basically salaries, right? The other 50% approximately is coming from other costs. That means licenses, that means cost of development, that means infrastructure. You need labs, you need computers. So from that percentage, basically, open source is bringing a lot of value because, as you know, if you start building on top of existing open source, basically you will be faster developing software. You will be up to the age way faster than if you are starting from basically scratch with no libraries, no open source at all. So open source has been seen as a way of starting to produce sustainable research. So it means that over the years, basically you can start putting that money or investing that money in other areas. So this is the value of open source and how you can contextualize this open source way of working in different areas, as far perhaps or as close as we are in a university in this case. Yeah, so going into chaos software, there are three main pieces of software. So we have Grimoire Lab, Cregit, and Ogre. I will probably focus a bit more on Grimoire Lab because this is the tool I know. I was one of the original developers. I'm not developing anymore, so I can answer some technical questions probably. But basically, our idea is to produce a set of free libre open source software. The L basically comes from Spanish language. That means libre, that is free as in free as in free speech. So that's why maybe in Europe you see the word floss, that in English means a totally different thing. Basically, the idea here is to implement a reference software that everyone can use to analyze the health of their project, their community, their whole ecosystem. So that depends. And an ecosystem can be defined in many ways, in many different ways. So we can define an ecosystem by individuals, companies. We can define the ecosystem, by the projects themselves. So there are many ways of defining this. A bit about Grimoire Lab, and then we can see some examples. You can go to github.com/chaos, and you will have some more info. But basically, with Grimoire Lab, you are able to gather information from 30+ different data sources. What is a data source? Data source is Git repositories. Data source is GitHub requests. Data sources are any of the pieces of Atlassian stack, Jira, Confluence, Slack, Mattermost, all the communication channels, CI/CD. So basically, think of the tool as a way to have from idea to customer or to release a full understanding of visibility of the whole software development lifecycle. So you can enter into the code review activity, you can enter into the CI/CD processes, you can start gathering and implementing the DORA metrics. Maybe you have read the book about the Accelerate, which is the stability and throughput of the software. Maybe you are interested in understanding the code review. Maybe you want to go and analyze the newcomers. So all of this information is available out there. Think of the open source projects. And we don't typically think of this way. So we have licenses, we have the source code, we have the community, we have the collaboration, but there is the data that we are all producing, and all of this is produced in the open. So all of these data sources, and of course we need to follow the law according to data privacy, etc., etc. The thing is that all of this information is there. Think of a commit. So when you produce a commit, what is the information that you are leaving there? Basically, you are leaving your name, your surname, your email address. You are leaving the time zone you live. You are leaving the files you have modified. You are leaving information. You are leaving traces of the lines of code that you have added, you have modified, you have removed. So there is tons of information that you are leaving, but you are contributing to an open source project. And so at least you are aware of all of the information that you are leaving out there when you are participating in the open, which is good in any case, because data, my position is that is another layer for transparency, basically. It's another layer to show, trust. People can trust you because you are using a certain license. People can trust you because you are showing the code, right? You can see the code. People can trust you because they can see how you are producing code. They can see the data. They can see who is doing what, when and where. And that's part of the vision of these three tools, not only Grimoire Lab. So basically with Grimoire Lab, you have these 30 plus data sources. There are 70 plus different dashboards that you can consume. This is Python 3, by the way. And then for database and visualization is OpenSearch. So we used to use Elasticsearch. They changed the license to a non-open source license. So we had to move to something fully open source. This is fully used in production. You have visualizations and reporting capabilities. So feel free to use the tool. Have fun if you think this is of interest for you. The kind of things you can produce are the ones that you can see here. This is an example. This is an implementation of Grimoire Lab, which is Viterbi Analytics. In this case, the commercial services that we are providing in the company. But this is what you can see that is, like a final dashboard, Kibana dashboard, if you feel comfortable with this, or you have used the technology before. Ogre, this is more about, they are still prototyping metrics. If you are interested in a scale I mean to the level of the 100 key repositories, so scaling really big, this is probably the tool for you. They are now creating a layer of AI, ML on top of this, together with Red Hat. And that's a different tool. So this is probably to understand the trends in the open source ecosystems that are of interest for you. And there are a way that you can compare projects and so on. So that depends un poco on your needs. So I would say if you are interested in understanding the health, sustainability, creating your own dashboards and visualizations, and going into a certain subset of projects, maybe up to 10,000 repositories or so, probably Grimoire Lab is a better tool. You can drill down, you can filter by time and so on. In the case of Ogre, you go to another level. So you go to the next order of magnitude, and then ideally you can go to this 100 key, so then you can start doing other type of perhaps big data analysis. In terms of the amount of data that all of the tools are producing, so for a usual ecosystem as CNCF, for instance, which is pretty big, we are talking about a couple of hundred of gigabytes of information, which is not, certain amount of information, but not that big at the end of the journey. And then finally, Cregit. So if you've read one of the last Linux Foundation reports on the Linux kernel, they are using Cregit to tokenize the information. What does it mean to tokenize? Basically, is you take a line of code, and basically each of the words, basically, you take them out. So they are running certain analysis on corpus, how the grammar has been evolving, and other aspects. So basically, this is telling here, right? Credit is capable of tracking the contributor of each token in a line. And then you can go into that specific aspect. So think of this, you can have a line and then someone has modified, I don't know, an in or out, whatever, something in that source code line. But then the other part of the line is basically belongs to a different developer. So it's going up to, down to this really detailed view. This is working quite well for the Linux kernel. So it's, millions lines of code. So there is certain scalability. And the purpose is totally different than the other two tools. This is a different focus tool. So then you can have some statistical analysis basically on ownership specifically. Might be useful, for instance, for due diligence, merchant acquisition. So there are different areas. Okay, photo is taken. Perfect. So how to participate? If you are interested in this technology, the discussions we are having and so on, so please go into chaos.community. So this is the website. You will see different areas there. Indeed, let me show you the website, which is probably better. The other one. Yes, I was opening this. Okay, so you have basically this is the usual website for an open source community. Nothing really fancy here, but in the about section, you will learn about the the charter, the code of conduct, data policies. We are now working on ethical use of data, because at the end we are talking about private data somehow. So we need to take care of this. Governance and the governing board. So the governance is basically the charter itself, but defining how we work. Working groups, that you could be a maintainer of the working group. So there is a whole path to be part of the community. For a contributor, maintainer, working group leader, you can be part of the board at some point. And then governing board, there are many people, so you can click there. Not a big deal. From the calendar perspective, if it works, yes. So you can see all the different projects, okay? And then you can see all the different projects that are working here. So if you remember, I showed you like 4 of them at the beginning. We have all of these. So academic working group, Africa meetings. So there is now a chaos specific meetups happening in Africa region. The app ecosystem, Asia meetings just recently started. So maybe you've had the chance to meet Divya Mohan. I think she works in for Amazon Web Services. So she's the one kind of now starting to run the discussions. She's based in India. I don't know exactly the city. The community management, data science, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, metrics discussions, OSPO for open source program offices, science and research, software meetings, which is the Grimoire Lab and Cregit and OGOR, and then some other chaos meetings. So I'm running out of time, so I just wanted to show you this. Please go around, check the technology, github.com/chaos, all for you to have fun. So thank you for your time. Any quick question?
Any questions?
Yes.
Okay, so what sort of metrics do you consider like a healthy versus an unhealthy project? What are the main metrics you look at?
So the question is
metrics.
So what are the metrics that are part of the definition of health? Okay, that's a tough question. So thank you for the question. That depends basically on your definition of health. Example here is, what matters to you if you are running a business? So probably you would like to have a certain, you would like to see a certain activity in the releases. You would like to see that they don't have, like a lot of security vulnerabilities, that they don't have certain things. But then you can enter even more into this. And if you think about for instance, the concept, bringing here the concept of software bill of materials, any large corporation out there is having at least a software bill of materials of 15,000 pieces of open source that are part of their, usual business. So if you're running a bank, probably you would like to know if there is a problem in any of the 15,000 pieces of code that you're using. So for a bank, probably would be really useful to learn if there are poorly maintained areas of code, or if there are projects where there are no developers. So that could be a good definition of health. For others, for instance, for academia, perhaps the size of the community is not that important, but then the quality of the results within the community. So perhaps they are more interested in replicability of the results and some other things. So basically, I would give you back the question, and the question to you is, what is what matters to you? How would you define health? Yes, there are some case studies that we can share. I can share really quick. Couple of them. Let me go. So this is a presentation I gave the other day that we can go really quick. So case study, we can go for this one. This is Red Hat and OpenShift and CNCF ecosystem. So what we did is, if you see all the dots here, this is a developer, and then there is a line here if there is a contribution. Okay. There are developers that are participating in more than one project. So we have Kubernetes, we have Falco. This is for the whole CNCF ecosystem a few years ago. We have a lot of developers here that are working in many different projects. This is my definition of health. Having a really lively, messy community from a visualization point of view. But that's my definition of health. This is a case study that was useful for Red Hat to understand the relationship between OpenShift, that is a distribution of Kubernetes, and to the rest of the community. And this is thanks to this analysis. Basically, the community manager back in time was able to use, to move from a more art perspective. Basically, I know my 200 developers, to science. I need now to start making decisions of 7,000 developers. How can I do it without data? So that's the thing. That this is just one simple example. There is another one that I suggest you have a look at it. This is a report that we did. Now I'm changing the hat here. So this is Vitergia. Okay, this is the company. But this is a report we did with Mozilla community using Grimoire Lab. So if you go to report.mozilla.community, you will see a full analysis of the whole contributors base in Mozilla. That includes Thunderbird, Firefox. That includes all the localizations, all the knowledge base they have, everything. Everything is there condensed. So this is their definition, and probably what you can see and the analysis that you can see there is their definition of health, specifically for the Mozilla Foundation case study. So I would say that depends. If you're asking for a canonical definition of health, this is what we are trying to define in the standard, but that's going to take a bit. Yeah, thank you. I think we are out of time, right? So
yeah, we are almost done. So thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
It was wonderful.